Fundi, today we have a very difficult alteration. I don't know if you've noticed this saga of the flaring pockets, where sometimes if a gent has a bit of a large seat, you'll get a flared pocket happening. And this generally is because the bums, it's like pulling this portion of the pants, pulling that out, and that ends up there. You can see there, kind of flaring out that pocket. So that happens. Another situation where that can happen is where we're doing a size alteration like we're doing for this gent, and we're taking out the center back. But the more you take out the center back, the more you find that the pockets are shifting backwards onto the bums. And the more they do that, the more they tend to flare. Now, I do cheat a little bit here and there where I just put a gather stitch along the edge of the pocket and that just pulls it a little bit closer to the body. But sometimes the alteration is a little bit extreme. And it kind of depends on the situation. In the past, I've just told the clients to suck it up because that's what happens when you buy stuff retail that is not your size. And shame this gent, you're often, or depending on the different retailer, sometimes they will not let you purchase a different size jacket and trouser. So because he has big shoulders, you have to get quite a large jacket, and then that ended up being hopelessly too large trouser. So all in all, we'll be taking out 13 centimeters of this waist, and we can take that all in the back. Two dramas there. One is that, where have I done this now? There we go. One is that if we take that amount in, these back pockets are going to basically touch. I mean, not a crime, but not the most fashionable thing you ever saw in your life either. So, that's the one drama. And then the other drama is, of course, now what we're discussing now, the flared pockets. So, recently I figured out this other way of altering. And the first time I did it, I thought, yes, I'm really never going to do this again because it is such a drama. But then I kind of got over myself and realized it's not all that much of a drama. And since I live for fashion, may as well just do this. I don't know if I'm going to maybe come up with a different price point for this alteration because it's a lot more work than just taking out the center back. So I can't really charge the same amount. I don't know, we'll see. For now, I'm kind of still experimenting with it a little bit. I've only done it for 2 different clients so far. So I'm still kind of getting used to exactly how to do this and how the maths works as well. Because like with this client, I only pinned on the center back. And then later I decided not to be a bread and rather take it in on the sides. Now, of course, I have to distribute that maths. Anyway, let's see. What are we doing? So number one, of course, is unpicking. So I'm going to unpick a portion here. I'm going to take in this side, and what we're going to do with this pocket is actually fold it under to reduce that pocket. Because otherwise, if we close that there, you will not have any pocket, or your pocket will be so small, you'll only be able to get in there with the tweezer. So, that is what we're doing. Step number one, unpick. Unpick, unpick, unpick. So I'm opening this waistband. I'm going to just go as I go. Opening up the waistband. Now, because this is something I haven't done so many times, I also can't remember all the little nuances of it yet. They haven't quite been programmed into my brain. One is that we will or it's easier to unpick the entire pocket bag. Now, if the pocket bag goes all the way into the fly, I'm not sure what I'll do there. I haven't encountered that situation yet. But for now, let's just unpick the entire pocket bag. It's just going to make it a bit easier to work. Unpicking. Yeah, taking off the waistband. Okay. And then, yeah, this belt loop, we're either going to completely, I think we actually end up completely moving that. So let's unpick that there. Very, very carefully. Unpicking days. If I want to take it off there so long, may as well. Unpick from the back, it's a little bit safer. Like I was saying, I can't quite remember all the nuances. But one thing I want to do is just mark where the current pocket is. I think that's going to help me later on. I must also decide how much I'm taking out. Am I going to take 2 centimeters? Because that'll be 2 on the front, 2 on the back. Gives me 4. Either side gives me 8. Which leaves with 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 5 centimeters on the center back, which I think is quite reasonable because that's then 2.5 either side. Or, I could take out 1.5, which gives me 3, 6, and then we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Gives me a 7, which is 3.5 either side. Probably best to do 2. Okay, so here, I'm just going to just draw in a little bit quickly the original marks there. I'm going to check how frictionable this pen is because I have once before in the past, I thought I'd bought a friction pen and I ended up buying a permanent marker. Marked a guy's white shirt with it. Heavy days. Okay, so open up the waistband. I think I can also here just mark where is that center. Because here we will be, again, doing a bit of an alteration. So now I can open up the side seam. Now this pocket is done very easy. It's just flipped over like that. So this is actually great news for me. I do end up altering the side seam. So I should just probably do the side seam one time. And I'm going to shorten the hem with 5. Okay, so I'm going to unpick the hem and just cut it where it is currently, because then we'll be turning 5 centimeters, meaning we've reduced it by 5. Let's see. Lesser chain stitch for unpicking at least. Okay, so I want to unpick this again to the bottom of the pocket bag. So to here, and that's also a chain stitch. Fabulous. Let's figure out in which direction it goes. Doesn't look like it goes bottom to top. Let's see if it's top to bottom. Still does not want to release this pocket. Oh, maybe I should do it from this side. Okay, there does look like two chain stitches on top of each other, which is probably why it's locking me like that. There we go. All right, there we are. Yeah, so what I want to do is flip this like so. Now, first things first, open this all up. Undo these bar tacks. So as you can see, this is way more work than taking in the center back, even if you have to move the belt loops. And I think also a lot more fine detail work. So yeah, maybe this I should charge a different price. We'll see. Anyways, okay, so opening it up. There we go. And liberating this section. Okay, so I'm going to just take a minute or so to decide if it's worth kind of unpicking all of this and shifting it, or if I should just fold it. Because the thing with the fold is it creates bulk. Maybe I'm being too extra by trying to avoid that bulk. All right, so question number one, what is my length at the moment? And you see we've got our original stitch there. So from the join on the head, on the waist to the join at the side, 18 centimeters. Just going to write that down. And I need to open this up a little bit more. So let's just think, if I unpicked this, yeah, I guess I could just shift this whole piece further in, I think it would be a bit more challenging. Yeah, and I think maybe like there, I'm biting off a little bit more than I can chew. So what I want to do is find some pins. Right, so at the end of the day, I want to take this in. And if I want to say 1.5 and 2 over here, I think it would be better just to take it straight. 2 like that. On that, because I'm just now looking at the maths from what I did at the center back. Center back, I have 6 plus 7 is 13, where we have it at 325, which is 7 centimeters all around. So yeah, I feel like I should actually only take it in 1.5, because that'll be 3 this side, 6 that side. And then maybe take more in on the center back. I am, like I say, this is a whole new world for me. So let's look. Let's say, for example, let's do 175. Actually, I want to keep this as straight as possible. I feel it's just going to make my life a bit easier. So 175. I'm not going to be ridiculous. I'm going to take 2 centimeters either side. So that's at the end of the day where I want my pocket to be. And here we've got 5 centimeters from the front. That's regular. So I don't need to. Now see this, it's going to be quite bulky to turn. I only want to turn this 1.5 centimeters in. I don't know if I'm really going to be able to do that on that bulk. The ones that I've worked with previously have not been so bulky. They didn't have this turn under. They had some other thing that was not quite as bulky. Let's see. So how is this joined? Let's just join it like that. I'm going to try and take this whole pocket off and redo. Bear with me. I think here I'm just going to draw in where this fold meets up. So we can kind of get this back to that position, theoretically anyways. So yeah, previously what I had done is I just folded this 1.5 back like that. But you can see this is going to be way, way, way too bulky. So let's see, if I open this up, then I've got this top stitch here. An interesting question. Maybe I didn't have to unpick this portion. Only the top stitch. Let's look quickly. What will be the results? Unpicking. Story of my life. All right. Let's say we didn't unpick that. that it's still been stitched in. Then what I want to do is shift this now 1.5 backwards. So I think that actually pushes the pocket bag too far forward. So if we move that 1.5 backwards, yeah, so here, the maths, I'm still like kind of figuring it out. Let's just, I don't think this is really going to work. I think we are going to have to shift that portion. Shifting that back, 1.5. So here, this portion underneath, so I'm shifting back 1.5, and I'm just kind of letting that go as straight as possible into the side seam. Okay. Now the question is, what has happened to our pocket? So the pocket kind of just shifts forward in that scenario. Then you can kind of just put it back on where the original was. Let me just see. The thing about that we've now moved it forward an indeterminate amount. Yeah, you see, it doesn't really line up here smoothly. Yeah, and here it doesn't line up smoothly at all. Yeah, which is going to cause me more heartache than I really need at this time. So what I want to do is actually, let's see, what is this like under here? Okay, so if we unpick this, shift this, so yeah, having unpicked this, it allows this pocket bag to be folded in underneath at that 1.5. So this is really just problem solving, figuring out what maths are going to work, what numbers I'm going to need to employ. Okay, so we stitch that there, that'll come back to that. And then if we fold it back, we should be, forward of, you can now see there's the original where the pocket was. Now everything's moved forward, and this here is sitting nice and flat, which is what we want. The question is then, so that has shifted 1.5 forward from there. Now I'm going to sew 2 from there, meaning my seam is going to catch right here. And the question is, what will my pocket length be there? 18 centimeters, again, exactly. So, so far my measurement here on the side has usually been 2 centimeters, the trousers I've done previously for gentlemen. So I don't know like how the maths works, but on the side we're taking out 2. On this pocket we shift 1.5 inwards. I think it's because it's a diagonal there. So right, obviously I'm unpicking the other side, doing the whole same spiel. What I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to keep the pocket bag as in place as possible. There's actually now no stitching holding it anywhere. So I just want to keep it as in place as possible. And I'm going to stitch through this outside trouser layer, through the pocket bag, 1.5 centimeters back, or probably let's say 1.25 centimeters back from the original fold. So here's the original fold, or the original opening of the pocket bag. I'm going to mark, I'm going to mark 1 centimeter. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stitch along there so that I can just keep all these layers in place. And I'm going to stitch all the way down to the side of the trouser. And then I think one time, once I've stitched that, because I'm going to, so obviously I'm going to stitch on the outside because I want it to be close to 1.5 but not quite on 1.5. You can just do one thing at a time. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unpick the other side, as I've done here, liberate like this whole facing portion, everything from the pocket bag, and then stitch through the trouser, through the pocket bag, 1 centimeter forwards, because I don't want to be exactly on 1.5. I don't want to fold it exactly on that stitch. I want the stitch to be on the inside. Let me do that, and we'll continue from there. There we have it. You can see here, over there, I really just stitched that portion down. And this is just to keep the pocket bag in its place. And like I said previously, if this wasn't so bulky, I would actually just have folded that back 1.5. But in this case, I felt with that bulk, it's better to actually move it around. So what I want to do now is fold this back 1.5, which should be just the other side of that stitch line. Yeah, there's 1.5. So I'm really just folding that pocket opening backwards. 1.5. Now you'll see it's not the prettiest thing where it comes here to the side seam. Perhaps at some point, and perhaps when I'm charging a special price for this, I will look into neatening that up. But for now, because this is charged like a center back alteration and it's just maybe like 500 times more complicated, I am just going to cut a little corner here and there between you and me. Okay, so there's my 1.5. I'm going to give that an iron and a top stitch here, maybe just half centimeter from the edge, like the original was. And then this portion of the, well, this is actually the front pocket. Let me just liberate this pocket here. Yeah. So yeah, this portion, can't really call it a facing. I don't know. Maybe you'll call it a facing, whatever. But yeah, that portion, I'm just going to stitch down there, basically redoing this pocket piece, the pocket opening, 1.5 centimeters further in, or let's say towards the center front than it was originally. And yeah, this I'm just, I just ironed it exactly as the original was. Just putting that in. And so yeah, this stitch is really just to keep the pocket bag on the inside here so it doesn't end up slipping out there. And then my bag doesn't actually like fold back to how I want it. And we can also check this while we're at it. I like to check as I go. Okay, so that will fold in there. This pocket bag would remain at the edge there. And then, yes, if everything has gone according to plan, that should end about there. And see, there's my original stitch line lining up, so that's great. That's exactly what I want to see. And here, if that pocket folds exactly where it was, should finish up there. And we should see that the new pocket opening is 1.5 centimeters from where I marked the old one, which is fantastic. And then again, if I stitch a 2 centimeter seam allowance, or I increase the, you know what I mean, if I alter the side at 2 centimeters, then from waistband to down here, so here I'm losing a little bit, like 17 centimeters. The original was 18, but that's fine because 18 is actually quite large because this is a large trouser. So I can even go down to 16. That's totally fine. All that we really need to check is that right and left come out the same. But I'll get back to that in a second. For now, it is stitching this portion onto the pocket bag and top stitching that all the way down into the side seam. Now, depending on how the pocket's done, etc., it might actually, kind of come past the bottom of the pocket bag here. In that case, I would just cut the pocket bag a little bit so that pocket bag can still be on the seam allowance like that. But in this case, we're okay. We're close to the edge, but we're fine. Obviously, the other side, same. Try not to lose belt loops. And then we'll come back for more ironing, probably more unpicking, more fashion. All right, peeps, there it is. So basically, all we do now is realign this to be that 1.5 from the original. Let me just secure it there. This is the first time that I've really done, this kind of unpick and redo. Like I said previously, I just turned it under, but I did find that a bit bulky, and in this one I felt it was just going to be too bulky. So maybe this will be part of the completely new plan. And I do want, this original seam to match up. And like I said, it's not all that pretty. You can see here, like this situation, but there's really limits to what we can do. Okay, so if I stitch this at 2 centimeters, it's going to land up here, which is going to give me 17 centimeters seam allowance. That's great. What I'm going to do is from this 18, I'm just going to do like a little bar tack and just close up the seam all the way down to kind of lock those two together. And then I'll overlock this edge where I unpick that overlocking. And I'll also come here and do a quick little bar tack there. Of course, same on the other side. And from there, there's not all that much too exciting. I'm then just going to put this together, line it up, and come with my 2 centimeter alteration, down the edge here. And of course, I'll have to just recalculate a little bit how I do the sides here, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. All right, Bafundi, there we are. So you see that's now been just stitched down, and there's our new pocket way forward, and now we're going to do this side seam alteration. While I was at it, I just cut this waistband and stitch it together, obviously 2 centimeters, because that's now the adjustment we're doing. If it's less than that, I won't actually cut. If it's 1 centimeter, I'll just stitch it with one, and I'll just force seam allowance one side. But in this case, 2 centimeters, I felt we'll just cut that. Okay, so I did now give this an iron, and maybe let's look at the mats as we go. So first of all, I just want to realign this. Don't judge my overlocking here. It's a Sunday, and I only have so much patience for being super finicky on jobs like this. So here we are, realigned. Okay. Now we know that here we're going to be stitching 2 centimeters from the original stitch line. Which surprisingly use a little bit of that. I'm sure I'll be fine. We'll check it out in a minute. Okay, so there's the 2 centimeters. Now what I need to figure out is when I pin this on the center back, I actually did not want to start. So here the original, so can we even see the original? There's the original bar tack. So I wanted to actually start there. 10 centimeters down, I want it to be at 0. So I think this guy, quite a jimmer, big size here. But I obviously can't come from 2 centimeters straight down to 0 there. Yeah, and on the inside, I want to take in 1 centimeter. You see around here, this is kind of like right at the bottom of the buns, where I am taking in a little bit, about 3 centimeters. So I don't know if I can here, because see the legs are actually fine. The legs are only taking in about 0.5 centimeter. So I can't take too much here. I don't know if I can reduce to 1.5 there. Here's my 2 to 1.5. 10. And then 12 was supposed to be 1/2. I don't know if that's really going to work. Okay, and then 1/2, and right at the bottom, we get to a 1. Okay, I think that'll work. This guy, I'm actually just going to ask him to come in sooner rather than later so we can sort that out. But at the end of the day, it is just that. This, it's not super neat, that portion there, but as neat as it's going to be. And yeah, this is a way to take it in on the sides by just moving the pocket forward. I think I'll just, carry on with this and I'll just give you the highlights as I finish this up. But there's really nothing more to it. We're going to do the side seam, we're going to do the inside leg and the center back, and put that waistband back on. Easy peasy. Alrighty, peeps. Nothing too exciting, just stitch the sides. The crotch, I'm taking the back in a little bit because it's a little bit saggy down here, so this is shifting that back. Here, yeah, I don't know. Measure this out, it comes to 16 centimeters. How that happened, I don't know. This is, like I say, kind of a new process for me. But in any event, I just made sure that both pockets are the same, and I'm going to go and just double stitch just this pocket bag, from the bottom of the pocket bag to the top. I just like to double stitch that section to make it nice and sharp. And while I was at it, I opened up the back, the center back, because the rest that we didn't take out of the sides, we have to take out of the center back. All right, so in total, we wanted to take 13 centimeters, 6.5 times 2, 13 centimeters. And that is going to give us, okay, so 13 centimeters, then we took 2 out of each side, so it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we're left with 5 centimeters, which is going to be 2.5 on each side of the center back. Now, another reason to the pockets that we're going to be too close here is that these belt loops were going to end up too close. And I think, the belt loops are going to end up completely inside each other or on top of each other. These are going to be too close. Okay, so let's redo these belt loops. Just going to shift those, double stitch that. This one I've already opened up a little bit, or the hem I've already ironed open, so that I can overlock that quickly. And of course be doing that hem there. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the last section didn't record, but don't worry. The most important thing is moving that pocket. All I'm doing now is going around. Now I've done now the center back, just given that an iron. I now need to reattach the sides. And the exciting thing that happened is that somehow this side that I'm doing now just did not match. It was too big. So I needed to restitch that. Now that I'm putting it back together, it looks like, for just one of those unknown reasons, it is not lining up exactly. It's like half a centimeter off. I don't know. These things happen. And let me tell you, this has been a very interesting journey for me, coming up with this plan, because every time things are going crazy. All right, so stitching that. Crotch I did, but if you look here, because the crotch is a little bit low, so that is why I'm taking it in, all of that. And then I try and stitch close up. You see, yeah, so I try and stitch, close up to the seam allowance, or to the seam allowance, because I don't want you to keep this 1 centimeter and keep the crotch low. So I want to stitch as high as possible. But on this side, see, I caught a little bit of that binding. And if you look here, you're not really going to see this, but there's just a little bit of black right there. So I'm just going to stitch that a little bit closer. And yeah, then I'll end up doing a stitch in the ditch to close all of that and obviously finishing off the hems. Yeah, nothing too exciting, just gave that waistband an iron. Now I'm going to stitch around this. Most of these belt loops have been moved or taken off, whatever. This one, I'll have to stitch to here and then stop and come around and stitch from there to the end. No one's going to die. I also tried to do this hem with my new stitcher, and I did not get that very well because this angle that I'd stitched here is too wide. So I've had to unpick, and now I'm going to redo that so that when I fold this is actually, it's a new machine, I'm figuring it out, because this has to fold up here exactly. Can't be too big or too small. Got to be exact. So yeah, I'm going to do that, and then we'll take it from there. Almost there. Now it's just to finish up those belt loops, redo these hems, party times. There it is, Bafundi, a whole new pocket, 2 centimeters forward, but still that same, more or less, length. And the last thing I'm going to do, really just for anxiety, is to do a gather stitch there, just so that really pulls nicely, against the body. And of course, you can do a bar tack here and here if you really want. I'm not going to, because I'm just not going to. That's how the crumbles biscuit. I'll see you next time for the next exciting alteration.